best way to play the game is to literally just tag as many mines as possible. Where, you know, for people who didn't think about it too much, are like, oh, well, if we do that, we could get eliminated. But the likelihood of eliminating yourself by constantly tagging mines was actually really low. If you had 10 lives and you had a 50-50 of losing a life and gaining a life, you have to be very unlucky. You could really just basically keep spamming it, and you'd probably stay about at the same amount of lives. It's only if you started to go low lives, like if you were at 1 or 2 lives, that it become quite risky, because it was, you know, more likely that you'd maybe lose 2 lives in a row. And it was proven in the team that won, because they basically found a corner of the maze. No one really challenged them for it, and they just spammed the targets for the entire game, and they won, and deservingly so. They played the format.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting ready to play first of the finals game.
Yep.
Right
So
now.
do we have the colours?
No, we don't.
We do not, but we can have a look.
We'll
got.
find it out.
I can see X-Force there. Oh, go back to the cameras. I could see. It'll tell us when the game starts.
Multi.
Is that See, there's X-Force there.
Give her that scoreboard for us.
What have we got in green? I can't see. I can see some close-ups of packs.
We'll probably have Ironing Maidens on red, I would assume.
Yeah, it looks like. Nice.
And that'll have JK up in blue.
Yep, they're about to start. I can hear them yelling.
That's Kaz.
Yeah, here we go.
We'll go back to talking about elimination and other formats between these games, but we do have the first game of the 3-game grand final series starting. X-Force on green. And JK on red. Yeah. It's just a little bit of lag. It's really hard to do.
Yeah, that's something we maybe could look at getting more lined up.
Yeah.
That's right.
First game of finals is underway. Ironing Maidens playing blue. Now, I'm not sure if there was a colour choice selection process. Vida, you might be able to offer some insight to that.
So we basically did it the same way we did Australasians. And I think, and I'm not 100% sure because I came in here to give my interview, I think we implemented the new method where the team that qualified in first got to choose whether they picked the colour, the order, or the counter pick. And so I'm not 100% sure how the picks went down, but I'm 90% sure that's what we did.
We do have the team which did qualify straight through and having blue in the first game, which has seemed to be the last chosen base in all of the games. So
we're doing quite well so far.
Yep, they got an early base. That's always good. It looks like, run for the win. Going to the base. Oh no, 2 shot denied.
2 shot denied by a red. It's always weird seeing that, or interesting seeing that happen when someone from the third team denies someone at a base.
Well, you remember those points are so big. Like it's almost always, with the odd exception here and there, almost always worth getting that deny. Especially on Worlds format. With my Worlds format, you can get those deny assists as well. So for a full 2 shot stun and 1 shot kill deny, you get 900 points. It's a lot of points.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a huge swing of points there.
Huge swing, right? They get denied, they lose 1,000, you get 900. It's almost the whole base worth of points. Well,
what are the key factors going to be for these 3 teams? Vida, you know them better than anyone.
Yeah, so it always comes down to sort of whoever keeps their head. And those newer players, especially, right? Those players who haven't really played a finals before. So we've got Bron for the win there. She's had a bad start. I think she's been to every New Zealand invites. She appeared at Adelaide Nats, so she's not exactly a new player. I think this might be her first ever finals, if I'm thinking correctly.
But it's certainly Gregosor's first finals.
It's definitely Gregosor's first finals. He's one of our new players. He's been playing less than 6 months. He is doing amazingly well. He's got a double A grading for those that are familiar with our grading system in our local league. And he's graded an E for this tournament. So I don't know if everyone's familiar with the points cap. The points cap we used this year was based on.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, I will talk about it. So what we did for this tournament, and we're going to continue it, I think, for New Zealand Invitationals for the foreseeable future. The Invitationals will probably continue to be a points cap tournament. We have grades for players, which are based on like a lot of things. How they've done at Nats and how they've done at other events. So it's kind of executive decision by Laser Sports at the moment. We could try looking at getting a more formal process at some point. But so we have our grades A, B, C, D, E, and each player grade is worth a certain number of points. And your team for this event was allowed a maximum of, I think, 23 points. So that was approximately like an A, a B, or was it like A, 2 Bs, a C, a D, and an E or something? No, that's not right. It's about that, right? So like Ginny, A's, Errors a B, Fields an E, and Dorky's a D. So that's pretty normal, right? A, B, D, E. Pretty much all the teams had to have an E. Was also kind of how we designed that. So if you have A players, I'm pretty sure you pretty much had to have an E player. So the E's on each team. We've got Ronan, who's a very new player. He's an E grade for red team here. Field, who's a Dunedin player actually. So the Auckland team here has picked up a Dunedin player and a player from Western Australia. And we have Gregosaur on green, who we were just talking about, is well outperforming that E ranking from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry, you go, Drake.
No, I was just going to say, Dorky to D is good value.
Yeah, Dorky to D's. That was a bit of a
Some good value.
Contentious decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dorky D. I think it's good value. He's a very experienced player. But I mean, if you look at the current game, he's 15 out of 15. So.
He'll pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
Yeah,
I've played against Dorky in this maze, even this tournament, and you know, he's always where you don't want him to be. He's always just going to shoot. His positioning's great. Like, you know, he's not that quick. He's not going to duel you close quarters, but he's always going to counter where you want to go, and he's going to make it hard for you.
Yeah, that's pretty standard WA positional style game.
Yeah. I mean, you've got your Doug plays like that.
I find these types of final situations really interesting because when you've got points caps and things like that, every team's got, it's a grand final situation where every team's got a, like you said, like an E or a D grade player, and I think when you're playing in these final series, those players become the deciding factor, don't they?
Yeah, they always do.
You know, those that adapt to it, they're the difference makers, and I think this final series here is going to be decided by the D's and the E's, not the A's.
Not the A's.
Absolutely. I mean, when you've got a player like Ace coming up against players like Dorky and Gregosaur, it's not going to be that much difference. Ace coming up against those players, or like even maybe Kaz or Lycan, they're still in general going to outplay those E players, and it doesn't really make that much difference how much they outplay them. So when those E players can add some value to the team, that's when that really starts making a difference. When they get that base where the other one didn't, or they get the deny, or they get they stop the base from getting shot in the first place. It can make a huge difference. What's going on in the game? It's pretty close still.
We can see Guinea defending inside blue base there.
He's a challenger there.
He's got both his bases, so he'll probably do a pretty strong job of defending towards the end. JKR, early lead. It's low bases so far, but JKR, so, even a base down, they got a 6k field point advantage. Yeah. But they are playing red, which is sort of, Yeah,
red, it's interesting actually. Last year, red was the strongest base by leaps and bounds. And we made a couple of tweaks to the maze. And it seems like we've almost got it exactly right. Like a couple of people saying green's a bit too strong now, but like you look at
blue a little bit too weak, maybe.
Yeah, maybe blue's losing too much. It's kind of hard, right, when you get that base in the middle. Either they're in the middle and they just get all the action at their base, or they're in the middle and they just get weak from either side. And it's real hard to build that base that they build a maze where they can access the points. And not.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways the blue game's going, right? Blues either get a massive fight at their base, getting heaps of points and probably getting some free bases out of it, and they can get a win like that. But otherwise, if they try to push out one side, they've got the other team coming in their back, and it makes it really hard to get any sort of push going with only like 3 defenders. And it takes. And the other thing is because we don't have any teams of 5A players, you can't do anything that takes huge amounts of coordination, right? Like those 5-man pushes you often see out of the top A players for bases. Rather than having 2 attackers and 2 defenders, you get like 5 people milling all around the base, all of them attacking, all of them defending. You're not going to see that sort of play out of teams that have a C and an E player on them because they don't have
people that don't have that experience that they're able to just go and float out themselves.
Yeah, you just kind of have to be like, you're playing here. If you see a player here, come here, and do as much of that as you can. And you try to keep it simple.
It's those newer players that are take that ship themselves and figure out that kind of thing and then be able to advance on it. They're the real ones to watch out for.
Yeah, and that was something I was
credit to your point.
Ironing Maiden winning the game so far after a big hit on a base, 3K advantage, and then playing from blue. It's definitely a great start for them.
Yeah, they do have both of their A players with both their bases though, so those are what you'd consider their easy bases. Like you could pretty much guarantee in these games you'll see all the A players rack up all their bases.
So what do you expect to see from the Ironing Maiden? Got 8 arrow close out their bases, or are we going to see a much harder?
It really depends what the other teams do. Like I mentioned, like if Blue's not getting attacked hard by both teams, it's very hard to actually defend. So it'll be interesting to see. They've just got to hold on, I think, until the game comes to them, if that's what they're doing. And I think the game might have come to them if we look at the cameras. Can we look at the blue camera? Because it looks like there's quite a lot going on there. The blue setup. So we've got people in the base. We've got Jenny's in there. There's a lot of action going on.
There's Lycan getting blue.
Yep, so Lycan's over at blue.
Kaz taking red.
There we go. So lots of action all over the maze again.
I think we've got some interesting, interestingly designed teams in this fight. We've got, the Ironing Maidens and X-Force. They're quite an hourglass-shaped team, very top and heavy. And JKR is a little bit different. They're kind of a bit more of a bell curve. They're strongest players probably weaker than the 2 strongest players on the other 2 teams, but their weakest players probably a little bit stronger than the lesser experienced players on the other 2 teams. So a bit more of a all-rounded team at the JKR.
Cylinder.
Yeah, more cylindrical as opposed to the hourglass shapes of X-Force and the Ironing Maidens.
Like you've got Lycan in there, who's obviously quite an experienced player, and she's quite dangerous when she wants to be. Blondie's interesting actually. She's been playing a long time. She's like eight or 9 years, I think. Like a long time, sort of in the league scene, and she's only kind of come into the competitive scene recently. So she's very dangerous with the pack. She can get those big pack scores. As you can see, she's racked up 5K packs already, which is pretty high. One of the higher pack scores in the game at the moment.
And the game's just about to end.
Game over.
Not much in it though.
Yeah,
we definitely still have a final series.
Less than one base.
Bring up the scores
Yeah,
here.
absolutely. 3,600 points between first and third there. That is absolutely nothing. That can change very, very easily over the next 2 games.
Got their blue game out of the way, which has been the weakest, and they didn't lose more than 3,000 points for it. So that puts them in a strong
I think that's a
position,
great
arguably.
start for them. Although JKR is in the lead, it's not by a lot, and they maybe didn't capitalise as much as they could have from that red game.
And depending on your opinion, maybe if green is the strongest base, X-Force is looking a bit shaky there too. JKR,
interesting way to view the game. Where all of us are kind of in agreement that the team that's currently losing the finals is in the best position.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know though, because sometimes when you get to a final series, the base orders just switch around because the strategies are a bit different, right? Like, I have this thing about like pretty much every grand finals I've played. Blue has been secretly the strongest base when people thought it was the weakest all tournament. I think it was true in Bendigo. I think it was probably, in some ways, it was true in Brisbane. which
No.
was interesting.
Yeah.
It was kind of in Brisbane. It was kind of like you can't defend it, so you have to go all out. I think Blue might have won all 3 finals games in Brisbane. No,
No, it can't have because
'cause
Maroons won 2 of the games.
No, you're right. We won in
Yeah.
blue. The Maroons won in blue, and the Wolfpack came very close to winning in blue. It was their strongest game. They were only like 1 or 2
Yeah.
games off. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
Blue's sneakily the strongest base, but I think it might come back down to that. Everyone knows Blue's the weakest base, so they may pay a little bit less attention and they get those sneaky wins.
Yeah, we quite like playing out of blue at Brisbane as well. It was really, really tricky because you had to find a way how to actually make it work. And that's really the key to it is when there is a weaker base there, you just need a way to break it a little bit. And if that's what you were saying before is what happened with the Dunedin team against you guys earlier, is that they did play something that was a little bit different and a little bit unexpected, and that did end up changing the result.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like to see,
They
right?
didn't win it, but
Yeah.
a different result at least.
No, it looks like they're getting ready for the
Unexpected.
It shouldn't be too long until we get the next game in.
Oh no, we're right on schedule. 11:20. We're about to start. Perfect. Oh, there's Cat doing a little dance. Whoosh. Those referee vests sure look bright, don't they?
Yeah, they've been doing that the entire tournament. It's amazing. It's
Sean
amazing.
there, Sean, our head ref.
Just glowing like no tomorrow.
So again, throwing you back out to the chat there, if you guys take your own take on the series, or how, if you want to tip who you reckon is going to win from this point onwards, please, would love to interact with you guys as well. Final plug, well, one of the last couple of plugs. If you want to donate to Laser Sports New Zealand, there is a button there underneath the video as well. Helps this stream keep running and them putting on fantastic tournaments like this.
Yeah, look, my prediction from the start of the night was I'm staying true to it. I think Ironing Maidens are going to come through. I think they got too much value out of their picks. Like Dorky at a D, that's great value. What was Arrow's grading?
B, I think.
Yeah, that's probably about fair. I can't comment too much on feel, but Ace and Guinea are both high value picks for A grade picks as well.
Absolutely.
So they got great value out of across the whole range of their picks, and I think we've seen that that's reflected in their results. They've been pretty dominant for the whole tournament. Not so much that it's not interesting or exciting, but I'm probably going to be backing them to take it out.
All right, we
Likewise,
just got the
but
chat up.
for something a little bit different there, I'm going to tip X-Force. Arcane on defense, that kind of controlling game that they have, plus Moldy taking that early there. Moldy's able to absolutely wrecking the points on offense, and having Arcane as their anchor on defense, they're actually really able to control that game really, really well. They did come second in that game. I think they were a base down and only just a little bit behind JKR.
Yeah, well, again, we got interesting build-ups. Like, Ironing Maidens probably have the best value per pick, like in a vacuum, per player. But you're right, X-Force's players complement each other quite well, and they'll run with a good chemistry. They've got a left-hander, they've got a strong defender, they've got a great value pick in Gregosaur, and they've got experience. They've got deep experience in some of their value picks in Kaz and Bron for the win. They'd be like the C and D grades, I suppose.
Yeah, so I think Kaz gets a C and Bron for the win gets a D.
So they've got a lot of experience, and they might not necessarily be the most dynamic players, but they've got a lot of experience in their their lower tier picks. And then you've got, like we were talking about before, JKR with a more well-rounded and average team. So we've got 3 teams of similar overall strength, but they've all taken different paths to get there, and it's what's going to make this finals interesting.
Absolutely. Again, that age-old adage of team of champions versus champion team.
Yeah, and
I think the team of champions that are a champion team. That's
yeah.
how you win.
I mean, that's best of both. I mean,
The WA Knights, you know,
absolutely.
team, the champion team of champions. Like,
just really balanced players that really each other. And again, that's what we see out of a lot of the, at least in the Australasian championships community as well, is that it does take up many different types of players to be able to balance out how everything works.
yeah, I think building a well-rounded team is critical. You know, you got to have selfless players, and you've got to have you know, role players and people willing to do certain things, and people that specialize in certain things. And you know, having 5 super aggressive attacking players isn't necessarily always going to you know, give you the best result. You know, Werribee, case in point. Obviously, they did very well this year, but a hyper-aggressive team of strong pack-on-pack players, very similar play styles across all 5 players. We've seen it perform really well for them during the whole week of nationals, and then yeah, we see that Werribee collapse. You know, with the exception of this year, obviously, but in the past we've seen the Werribee collapse, and I think that's a little bit of that. Another really close game was.
Sorry, Guinea, of course, being one of those players on one up that did finish second at the Australasian Zone and Championships this year, earlier in Albury.
Oh, of course he is. He's here in Guinea. So you look, Iron Maiden's taking commanding the lead. No, it's not commanding. They're up on packs.
Yeah, I mean they're still down on the.
But they're down on JKR. We'll see. They've got their green game now. This green game is the important. If they don't win this, they'll be in a much weaker looking position. Oh, Kaz got a warning.
Ooh.
Well, maybe she should stop cheating.
Oh.
Yeah, cheat less.
You don't often see that many terminations in a grand finals.
Yeah.
Well, I as someone who's been terminated in a grand final by someone else currently on this commentary team, I don't disagree.
You know what? I think any termination in grand finals is probably deserved. Like, we've got experienced refs in there.
Consistency is what you want.
Finals.
I'm going to disagree. I think the termination that I got in 2015 finals was undeserved.
I feel like the Maroons have been terminated in every single finals I've played them in.
Probably. I mean, we are a bunch of dirty cheaters.
I don't think my team has ever been terminated in a grand finals for anything.
Yeah.
So
I also don't think your team's ever won a grand final. Yeah. So how about that?
That's an interesting correlation, isn't it?
Correlation. Yeah. You need to get termed to win. No, look. I mean,
not that we condone cheating, saying cheat is a win or anything like that.
No. So the termination that I got in the Bendigo finals was I'm sitting there just completely by myself. No one's around for ages. It's a grand final. I'm just defending the base. And Mad Cans just pops around a corner and quickly team kills me and then disappears again. And I haven't seen anyone for about 2 minutes at this point. And you know, so I'm just sitting there by myself, and I've gone, shit. Oh. And then Drake has come over and terminated me for swearing.
Yep.
And
yeah, that was unfortunately specifically directed for it. It's like, you know, no, this is because it was being streamed as well. And they're like, well, regardless of anything like that, and it's like, I feel so bad giving things like that. Fortunately, it didn't affect the results, so I feel.
No, it didn't. I'm grateful, and that was the only termination issued for.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if the swearing team is the only finals, you know, the only term of finals is the clean finals. I can't imagine
absolutely.
term for swearing. I think we've got a bit lighter rules on the swearing than at Nats.
Yeah, there would have been a lot more people termed if
I think it's unnecessary.
I agree.
You know, that's personal opinion. Everyone here, I think, is. I think we have an age limit of 14, and we can get parental consent for 13. Is how we do it here. So. You know, swearing.
Yeah, well, I mean that's a discussion for the committee, and I think the outlook on that's changed a little bit, and I think the attitude towards it's changed a bit to, like, you know, certain words are going to be like acceptable as long as they're not directed at someone or, you know, I think
As long
context
as it
is
doesn't
really,
affect the game.
yeah, context is really important
Absolutely.
in that situation. But yeah, and but that can be a bit rough.
Yeah, it doesn't always
Looking back at the game, though, Ironing Maidens have powered out ahead. So currently, they're winning. They're currently winning the tournament by 6,000 points overall. So they were 3,000 points behind going into this game. They've given themselves just about a 10,000 point buffer, a 9,000 point buffer, which means they're winning by about 6,000 points. Ace is having himself a fantastic game, 9-4 with one base.
Nearly 10k, 68 tags so far, 2/3 of the way through the game.
Yeah.
JKR struggling.
Yeah, but they've only got one base. You know, they're actually well ahead of X-Force on pack points here.
They are very rapidly running out of time, and
Yes,
JKR
that's true,
seem to be a
actually.
team that's
They can't.
the JKR seem to be a team that's doing really well or playing quite poorly. They you know, they're
So the cylindrical looking team with our results.
it's quite interesting, isn't it? Like you would expect this team to be more consistent, and the teams dictated by their you know, extremely talented and you know, more inexperienced players would have a greater swing.
I think I disagree with that actually. If you look at players like Ace and Jenny and Moldy and Arcane, right? Those guys, they have the experience. They know they're going to be consistent players. That's the reason they're on top teams. You look at players like Goofy and Blondie. They're great players, but maybe, you know, something happens in the game, they don't know how to respond to it, and that game goes particularly badly for them because they don't have the experience. Because
Or the mental mindset or anything to bounce back from a denial or something like that.
especially badly for them because they don't have the capacity to know exactly what to do in every situation, like your more experienced players probably will. See, JK.
Ironing Maidens powering out.
I think the lead's not increasing really. 12k. I mean, actually, it is increasing, isn't it? Sorry, the 12.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to finish the game bases up, by the looks of it, unless something drastic happens. You might see a blue dump or something. Red still needs 3 blues bases, but green needs 2 as well. So they've kept themselves options. Both X-Force and Ironing Maidens have options here.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close to the end of the game as well. So it's not that long left.
Yeah, JKR and X-Force now swapping positions, even though X-Force are a base up.
Oh, they're jumping back
JKR
and
with
forth.
those extra pack points, it's really, really important.
Yeah, it's tough though because, I mean, this will be a big hit if Goofy's able to finish that. Yeah, good. They've put themselves in a better position now. But you know, it's when you know that you're a couple of bases down. Even if you feel like you did well off field points, you generally have a negative vibe about the overall result. You know, yeah, we did well on field points, but yeah, it's pretty hard to be confident in your field points to overcome that kind of difference. Yeah, like sometimes when it's like a 10 base game and, you know, everyone's got 10, but you've got 9 clean and you've really outfield pointed, sometimes you can be confident then. But when it's like a 3 or 4 base game, I think it's really hard to back your field points. Like I think if you know, it's hard to gauge it.
It's very hard to back yourself for more than 3,000 fields. Like I tend to back our team for 3,000 fields when I'm calling a game from in the maze. I'll be like, 3,000. That's the limit. Don't want to do any worse than that.
Yeah. So you basically have a base and change. Like
That's it.
Yeah, but I mean, of course,
Harder to do much
changes
more than that.
depending on who you're versing. I would never assume that we've outpacked Wolfpack or the Maroons by 3,000 points because that would be silly.
Is that a base on the buzzer?
I think it was, yes. Yep.
Game
Yeah.
is ended now.
Ironing Maidens pulling into a very commanding lead.
11k ahead at the moment. X-Force taking out a pretty reasonable lead over JKR at the moment as well.
I think it's about 2,000, 3,000 or 4,000 points overall. But X-Force are yet to play blue.
2 scores from this.
Yes, correct. So that's probably the current standings that we have at the moment going into the third game of the grand final, the all-deciding grand final, is we'll have Ironing Maidens in first with a pretty reasonable lead over X-Force, who are narrowly ahead of JKR.
Yeah, we're going to need to see a 10,000 point swing from X-Force, who unfortunately are now playing from the weakest base. So it is a pretty tall order. Ironing Maiden's definitely in the driver's seat.
And I don't really think that X-Force have that make-up for that dump game and that really aggressive game to finish out those bases really early and get back there on defence if there's anything to do to chase.
Well, I've been thinking about it as we progress through the night, and I think that one of the reasons we haven't seen that many dumps is because we've got this points cap in place, and when you've got these mixed teams that haven't played a lot together and you've got some inexperienced players, it's very difficult to execute a dump effectively.
Yeah. It is really good to see teams like this with having the good players split up amongst the thing and creating all these really even, balanced teams and having the newer players, taking them on as well and giving them a taste of this high-level laser tag competition as well. I really think that's the way to train players.
It's more exciting, man. Like at the end of the day, do you think we would have nearly as much interest in this if the full Cobras unit was playing? It'd be like, oh, the Cobras going to win. It'd be far less interesting, I think this is the best way to do it.
See, I do agree with you 100%, but I do actually have evidence to the contrary with that because last time we had our Laser Force titles at home in WA at Malaga, and we fielded our full WA Sharks team, and that actually brought out some teams from the woodwork who wouldn't normally be playing, but they wanted to give the full Sharks a shot and see how they'd go up against the full lineup.
Yeah, fair.
But they were more experienced players that are coming back to play rather than... And I agree, when you're trying to introduce new tournaments, that is the way to go. You split up all of your really experienced players. Again, a tournament like this is not really interesting. You know beforehand going in who is going to win. It is those upsets and that, those close games really that make the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Minty's just making comment that they played mostly together in the first New Zealand Invitationals. Pretty sure the Cobras didn't exist. Was that in 2008? I'm pretty sure the Cobras didn't really exist in that sense then.
Cobras' first year is 2014 at home at Mount Wellington, I believe.
That was their first year of the Osnats. There was sort of like a Cobra-esque team at the Nationals previously, the New Zealand Kryptonite team, which had a few of the Cobra's members with some of the other Kiwis. They didn't do very well. I think they were quite low and low down on the ladder overall. But the first Dunedin Invitational, which was when 2 3 years ago. 2 years ago.
Hear us. Oh, we'll put it back.
Right.
Now they can hear us.
Okay, yeah. So this is the third New Zealand Invitationals.
In Dunedin?
Yep, this is the first. This is the third Laser Sports New Zealand Invitational tournament. We've held these 3 in Dunedin. It is very likely, not confirmed yet, that we will be moving this tournament next year to potentially Christchurch.
What?
Yeah, so the intention with Laser Sport, the invitationals that we've been running the last few years was to build the scene up in Dunedin, similar to how the Australians came and ran tournaments in New Zealand all those years ago when we first started playing. And I think it's worked. Like you look at the Dunedin teams coming in here, they've done surprisingly well. Not surprisingly well, but they've done fantastically well, I should say. Showing that they've got strong players now, and there's a new site in Christchurch, and it's time to go build the scene up in Christchurch if we can. If they have players and they want to host the tournament, we're open to doing that. we'll move to Christchurch. I think we'll get Dunedin teams to come, we'll get Auckland teams to come, and we'll stay having Christchurch teams.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really smart idea.
Yeah, I think everyone in the world really has been quite impressed with what you guys, in particular in New Zealand, have been able to do, driving it from the players are really all this organisational stuff is really being driven by the players, and obviously with a lot of support by the operators. But it seems like you guys are organising it all yourselves.
Yeah, that is. I think that is a bit unique about New Zealand compared to, say, the Australasian champs. The Australasian champs, I think, was started by a group of side ops who wanted to do a competition, whereas our tournament has been started by a group of players who have kind of taken the lead and been like, "Hey, let's organise tournaments, let's get leagues going, let's." Because we've got sites that are keen to do it, but I think the expertise for us is in the players. We've got people like myself who have been around sites for 10 years. Ace, who's been around just as long. Of course, Annie. You got other players who are around too, like Kaz and Jess have been around 7 or 8 years. Of course, Popeyes. Myself and Popeyes, who are currently the heads of Laser Sports New Zealand. Both very experienced in running tournaments now. And
doing it surprisingly well.
Yeah, this has been quite successful. A bit of a bumpy first day, I would say, if we're keeping to schedule, but
everything the first day it was all like
the first day's always hard. The first day's
even the stream
always
weird.
And of course we didn't make it easy for ourselves because we ran we ran solos, then we ran doubles, round 1, round 2, and then Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the Rings.
Like all of it in one day. Whereas teams is easy in comparison, right? You sit down, you start the game. Like that's easy.
Once you start one team's game, you can keep it going.
Solos, we especially because we don't have, it's not a huge competition. Round 1 is like 5 games long, and then you got to quickly calculate round 2.
Yeah.
So that definitely put us a little bit slower than we'd like. I think we finished almost an hour late that day. We also had some technical issues in the maze.
In the form of a leak?
Yeah, we had a leak in the maze, which was very not ideal. There we go, JKR pulling into the lead here.
Yeah, JKR do. But Ironing Maiden still in commanding control of the series.
The X-Force is not doing well in their blue game, right? And then Moldy just
getting
denied there.
Especially now Moldy getting denied early.
Moldy is
3 shots in.
He is susceptible. To tilting, old Moldy. So if he doesn't start,
It's unfortunate.
Well, here we go. He's going to get it.
Is that some insider intel to anyone looking to beat the Cobras next year? Tilt Moldy and you tilt the Cobras.
Moldy is untiltable in the Cobras. I can tell you that for a fact. Because anything that he experiences in the game will be much worse after the game if he plays badly.
Right.
We've got the legend himself, Butzer, joining us in the chat. Good evening, Butzer. Thanks so much for jumping on. How are you, mate? Hope you've been enjoying the stream and hope you have had a chance to sit down and watch some great laser tag action over the last couple of days.
I was actually just looking at the results from the 2008 and the earlier New Zealand Invitational Tournament. So the teams, we had 3 Australian teams take out the 2008 New Zealand Invitational, WA, Victoria, and Hoko, which was Hobart, Canberra. And doubles, Butzer Sinclair.
Hoko was Hobart Sunshine Coast.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hoko.
And doubles went to Butzer and Sinclair, Guilo Belfast, and Arbel and Slimy. Again, no New Zealand players even getting a...
Get a look. And I think we had one New Zealand pair make finals that year, the first year.
Wow.
And I think it's been similar in Dunedin. I think the first year we ran, there was like 1 player in solos and like this year I think we had a good showing from Dunedin in most finals, all finals, not Law. We had top 9 Dunedin player in Law, which is quite impressive in the Law field that we had.
Yeah.
I think.
So for doubles, yeah, you're correct. At least I'm assuming we had Popeye's Demonic Chicken and Super Special Awesome playing together
So
and making doubles
Awesome
finals.
was actually Margie. back then.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh.
So Danny and Margie have been playing doubles together for, what is that now? 10 years.
That's 2008, 10 years? They're still not good.
That's way too long.
Was that Mad, Butcher says that was Mad Can's first ever tournament. So me and Mad Can's
Yeah,
actually played
I believe so.
the same first ever
Yeah,
tournament.
it was.
Who knew? I didn't know that.
It was that 2008 New Zealand Invitationals. Cairns had been playing for all of about 2 days before he'd gone. So yeah, he learned very quickly.
We learned a lot from that tournament too. I would definitely say.
Yeah.
Like, we hadn't even seen because you forget, man. When you're new, you forget. Right? We were over in New Zealand and we kind of taught ourselves to play. Right? We were at pub level. We were at good pub level. But you can't get beyond that very easily without playing against somebody much better than you. Like if you haven't seen, like if you join a league and you're playing with good players, like in the Brisbane League or the New Zealand leagues or the WA leagues back then, especially,
Yeah.
you could learn real quick. But if you are forging that path for yourself, it's very hard to make gains when you can't even see what good looks like. Which is why it was so great for the Australians to come. And that was kind of the inspiration for this tournament as well. We're bringing it down to Dunedin.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good getting that competitive feel out to as many different people as possible and just able to get them to compete. We were saying earlier about how important it is that just the travel distance to get to a tournament. And that's one of the reasons, home field advantage is really important in terms of knowing the arena. But not having to travel and being familiar and just having something nearby, it doesn't cost a lot. There's very little lower barrier to entry versus, say, me or Dorky flying from WA all the way over, even then getting a second plane down from Auckland down to Dunedin as well.
Yeah.
Versus the Dunedin guys as well playing in their first tournament.
Yeah, I agree. It's much harder to get somebody to travel for their first ever tournament than it is, players a lot of these players have travelled to Nats before, in a different country, and they're used to travelling to laser tag, and it's not hard, right? We've got five Auckland teams here?
Yeah. I think
Yeah, that's where the home nats become invaluable, right? So home nats give those fringe players the opportunity to go at a low cost with a low commitment, and then that's like my first nationals was a home nationals. My first naps in 2009. I could tell you with a lot of confidence that if it was anywhere other than Sunshine Coast, I wouldn't have been there. It might have taken me another year or two to get there.
Me too.
Which is why relocating the nationals every year is really important. And that's why I'm really looking forward to it being the Australian Nationals being in Darwin next year, because Darwin's had a massive overhaul and a reboot of their local memberships, their local membership and their local league scene. So it's going to be a huge plug for them. It's going to be a huge expansion opportunity for them to be able to host the Nationals, and for some of their local members who aren't at that point yet where they're willing to commit the money and time and annual leave to go to a Nationals. To get a taste for it, and ultimately they will, and then they'll go, man, this is great. I'm definitely going to be traveling to, wherever gets voted in next. But we're heading into the 2 minute mark. 2 minute remaining mark in this game. I mean, this looks like the finals is set.
Yeah,
And I think
we do have to apologise a little bit for getting distracted, but if nothing really changes in the game, it's not real.
it's very unlikely.
Just one thing I did notice there, that Ginny did just take green base off his teammate Arrow and put a shot in first, and then he ended up finishing the base.
Classic Matthew Ginn there.
Any move is there.
Yeah.
Classic Guinea. But yeah, Ironing Maidens are going to comfortably take out the tournament. Probably would have been the favourite going in, I imagine. Yeah, JKR coming in second, which is where they placed at the end of the round robin. And X-Force coming in third. So, what's quite interesting is we've got not 8 teams, and basically only two teams moved at all in the system in the Ascension series, and they swap place. So first, second, and third stay the same. I think it was 4th and 5th switched, and then or maybe 5th and 6th switched, and then 6, 7, and 8
we
have all stayed exactly the same as well.
From 5th to 4th, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
I
You
think
got-
that
you
was
gotta
the
stop.
only change. I think that was the only change for the whole final
Biggest
series.
climb of the tournament, Druggy. How's that? One place.
One.
One play.
Well done. Congratulations. That's an achievement. There should be an award.
So we're just going to round out the last minute of the competition. They don't know it yet, but the Ironing Maidens are going to take it. I'm sure within the game they're probably
They're
feeling
probably.
reasonably confident. Although I think looking at how the game's played out and what the base counts have been and how the field point spread have been, JKR and X-Force might not know 100% how they're going. JKR probably feeling a little bit better after this game, but I know they won't be confident with their first few games.
Moldy probably knows that they're at, but
I don't know, Moldy. Moldy.
I'd say with his 8 shots in.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's put a lot of shots in green base. The whole team has actually, if you look at it.
And game over.
They got 8 shots on Moldy, 5 shots on Bron for the winning, 5 shots on Kaz for green base for 3 green destroys.
Yeah.
That's
Well, congratulations to the Ironing Maiden.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, was the final series on average? Was the final series on average score, or were you guys going to trial victory points or something?
Average score. I definitely had a strong conversation about that the other day. For those that don't know, Moldy recently played in a tournament where they got first on victory. If you scored it off victory points, I think they got 2 firsts and a third or something, right? 2 firsts and a second, or 2 firsts and a third, or I don't remember what.
2 firsts and a third.
Yeah, 2 firsts and a third. So clearly winning on if you'd scored on victory points, but they got 3rd place on average score.
Yeah. Dang.
Classic Moldy.
It reignites that old debate, but I mean, you can't actually compare.
Right?
You can't compare because you play the game to the.
You try to win the game with the
rule set.
things that it is.
Yeah, like you can't say that knowing it was victory points they would have played exactly the same because you wouldn't.
Of course you
wouldn't. So there's no way to actually realistically
If the team runs away
compare.
with the game and you're going on victory points, you just let them have it, right? You're like, I can't catch them. I'm going to let them have their 2 victory points, make sure I get my 4. You know, let
Play
them
second.
Whereas if it's average score, you say, I need to stop them from getting an advantage.
Yeah, and alternatively, when it's average score, you just need to guarantee that you don't lose by a lot, and you play differently.
Keep your base count high and hopefully minimise their base count.
Yeah,
Doesn't really matter who
even
wins
if you
or
fall behind by 500 or 1,000 points, just keep the game close, and yeah.
Well, I think that just about is going to do us. I believe that is the last game of the tournament. Is that correct, B-Doc?
You're being asked questions.
Oh, sorry. What was...
Oh, just saying that's the last game of the tournament.
Yep, that is
We're
the last game of the tournament.
basically done with the Laser Sports New Zealand Invitationals from 2018 from Dunedin. Only thing we have left is prize givings, which is tomorrow.
That will be live tomorrow.
Yeah, we will stream the prize giving, so you can tune in.
I'll set myself up
What-
in a corner upstairs and
what-
set the camera down.
What time is that?
It's at midday New Zealand time, so if you're in Brisbane,
Yeah.
I think that's 10 a.m. And
For
if
the-
you're in WA, that'll be bright and early at 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
For the
So
stream,
I suspect we will not have many WA
The
viewers.
stream I'm hoping to start by about 11:30, although we'll probably be a little bit later than that.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a pretty short event. We announce the finals. We'll say thank you, and of course I'm going to say thank you now to all our commentators that have been on the stream. It's been
Do you
really
wanna
really
list of
good
them?
to have international commentators. I think I know. Like we had Vilpo from Finland, who I'm
He
very
was
grateful
good.
to. It was amazing. It was great to have somebody from Europe commentating our solos game to get a good perspective. Cougar, who's always
Yeah.
amazing. Of course, yourselves, Ewan and Ibo. Do we have somebody else join us for a bit? Or is that the whole list? Of course, Troggy. I would personally like to thank Truggy. He has been amazing. He is the driving force behind this whole stream, and it's
I spent way too long
quality.
on it.
It's quality, and it's been something we've been really pushing this year.
It's quality-ish.
Quality-ish.
Like it's for a laser tag stream, it's amazing.
For a laser tag stream,
for all the other streams,
yeah.
it's okay.
We're good. It's very hard, of course, filming in the dark with 3 different focal points. So I think this is quality stuff.
And look, this year we got things like caster camera set up properly.
Yeah, and of course I'd like to thank PNC. They provided us with our awesome Laser Sports New Zealand member cards. Tracy, show the camera.
Yeah.
It won't focus.
Yeah, guess
because
what
of
with
the
them.
manual.
Yeah, that's been cool. And also Shex from PNC as well, who spent a lot of time before the tournament sorting out our law script. Thanks for that. I think we now have the only Nexus system in the world that has logins working for Lord of the Rings, thanks to Shex.
Oh wow.
So that was really good of him. And Mopar gets a shout out too, giving me some help for tournament manager and 5x3 tips and that sort of thing. So yeah, thanks to Mopar as well.
Alright guys, well look, it has been a pleasure. I'm going to sign out. I appreciate everyone hanging around, watching the stream and supporting the commentary. You guys are awesome. Don't forget, if you'd like to see the stream continue, you can donate and we highly encourage it. So there's a link down below. Obviously no pressure, but do it.
Yeah. Cheers everyone,
Anyway,
and thanks everyone.
This is Ivo.
you,
I'm
everyone.
signing out. Thanks very much guys. See you
And
next
this is
time.
Drake as well. Yeah, thanks again for a fantastic tournament, and we'll catch you next time.
Yep. Thank
All
you
right.
both.
I am going to run the credits because why not?